possible, don't have the animal in there. Because the whole point is the software is comparing the animal to what's in this background image.
Okay.
So, and you want the restraint tube, even if there's an animal in the restraint tube, you want that to be taken out as background. Now, odds are it's not going to track the animal in the restraint tube because they really can't move much. So even if there's some shifting around happening in there, the software, it won't interfere with tracking. Yep.
And then the settings.
Okay, so this is going to be kind of, well, let's see if we can get it to track Brooke as we go. So the grayscaling is always the default. That was the oldest type of modeling. It's the worst. You're hardly ever going to use it. If they're in an environment where there's bedding and they can move it around, go with dynamic subtraction. So with dynamic subtraction, what it's doing is it's always eliminating any change in background from consideration from the animal. So if they're kicking up bedding, that changes the background, and it's taking that into consideration to try and find it. So now what we want to do, so we've asked for 3-point tracking. The model-based XT5 is normally the best one. You can play with these a little bit and figure out if one might make for better tracking than the other. You just kind of have to play with it a little bit and see. But the model-based tends to work the best.
Okay.
And then you have to tell it, is the subject, a lot of times if you don't see any tracking, it's because this is wrong. So yours are probably, you're working with all sprig dollies, right? So it should always be brighter than the background. That's what we should always see. But then if it's not tracking appropriately, you can kind of play with there we go. So now we had a very nice little rat shape on her there. So you can kind of play with those settings a little bit to get it. You can do some contour erosion. So with this, if I do that, you can see the contours coming in, or we can have it dilate out a little bit. So you can kind of make it, sometimes you'll see like the contour of the animal, it's kind of overlapping the actual animal on here, so you can smooth it out a little bit with this. And then I can also dilate it out a little bit if I need to make it actually fill the entire body shape of the animal and that's going to help that 3-point tracking to be a lot more accurate.
Okay. And then as far as the minimum and maximum?
I rarely use that. So that tends to come into play if you're tracking something that's a lot smaller and the software is having a harder time picking it up. So when we work with researchers who track insects, we tend to have to do that. So you're telling it, ignore other things that are not within this size range. With rats, you should rarely have to use that. But again, if you're having difficulty having it pick it up, you could go in here and edit and kind of play with the size of what it's looking for. See, we just lost everything there.
Also, could you, since the rats are going to be moving inside, could you adjust the subject contour during the...
No, this all has to be done ahead of time. So that's why you want to take a dummy rat that you're not actually testing and throw them in there and play with these until it's pretty much ideal, and then don't change anything.
Okay.
And go from there. So we save those changes. Now, one nice thing to do, I'm going to go here to acquisition. So right now you can see it's trying to track something, but in theory we won't have put an animal in yet, right? Like right now we should have a nice blank background. But in between trials, you're going to be reaching in and out. You're going to be doing things. You're going to be playing with the background. So what you want to do between each trial is hit this reset background button. So after you take your previous animal out, maybe clean whatever you need to clean, put a new animal in, new restrained animal in, whatever it is that you're doing, just hit this button and it's going to make everything kind of disappear. Then you go get your animal, hit start. It's going to wait a second. Now you'll see, Brooke, don't move if you can. So right now, the trial is going, but it hasn't actually acquired anything because it has not detected that anything is in the arena yet. So once she moves, it should start to detect. There we go. And it's going to wait, and it waited that 1 second, and then it started acquiring. So the time of your trial could be different from the time acquiring. And it's going to go based on 5 minutes from this time acquiring. Because we do have people who ask us, why don't those numbers match up? And it's because we put that condition in there.
And then it'll just stop on its own.
It'll stop after 5 minutes. Or if something were to ever happen, you can always stop it yourself. Yeah. Next one, so now we can go back to save the video. You can also have it save the video only and it'll make a video file, and there will be no data acquisition, no anything like that. So it wouldn't actually track it. So you can have it select to do that too. Now the reason why this is grayed out is because I haven't actually said that we were, I know why. Because I said here that we were going to be doing something so here I didn't actually set an arena,
Right.
but I said that it was going to be using that, so that's why it's saying you can't actually do this because you haven't designated your arena yet. So if I put this back to, let's say, quadrant 1, and I go here to acquisition, now I could start acquiring if I wanted to. So you have to make sure that if you do have multiple things like that, that everything's actually set and taken care of, or else the software is trying to tell you, no, you can't go forward, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. That's very strange to me that it started off in color and then switched to black and white. I'm unclear as to why it did that.
Some do for intensity of light.
It shouldn't be. It depends on.
Oh, there it is again.
I thought I heard like a click
Yeah,
too.
click.
Mhm.
From the light or the camera?
It shouldn't be.
I heard it.
I thought I heard it when it did it the first time too. That's very strange. So now if I were to hit reset again, that would go away. Reset. And until she moves, it won't start again. You do want to check though and make sure, and that's all done on the camera. So when you, if you go here to experiment settings, we can't do it now, but if you click on that edit button, on the top of the camera there's a menu button, and you'll see that screen pop up on here, and you can switch it to like monochrome mode if you don't want to have it, because when it goes to color like that, the detection settings may be different. So you don't necessarily, you want it all to be monochrome or all to be color, so you want to make sure that's consistent.
Okay.
And my guess is that it's in color mode right now since we're seeing it. Which is fine, you can do it all in color if you want, you just have to make sure that it's all the same.
Okay.
Alright, so we have a trial. We don't have... Didn't I say to save the video? Did I not? Yeah. So it should have. Where did you save to? Program data experiments, okay. That's very strange. Let's try another one. Alright, live tracking. Save video. Start. This chair is heavy.
Yeah,
Why is it not saving your videos?
that's the same thing that happened last time.
That makes no